But then again, don't try to be something you're not, because it's not fun and you'll get antsy and waste your time. And so a lot of it is just understanding your true tastes. If you hate golf, don't play it. If you don't want to play bridge, find some other friends. But if you need that decompressed simulation, literally find the thing that you love the most, and you need to work on that.
Welcome to the No Excuse Pro Podcast, your weekly dose of motivation and actionable advice. If you're a realtor, financial planner, business owner, or anyone who's tired of making excuses and ready to take your success to the next level, you've come to the right place. Join your host, Kevin Brierton, each week as he chats with industry leaders who are going beyond the excuses to achieve their goals. So no excuses accepted. Let's get started.
So, hey, thanks for finding me. It's awesome that you found me through my podcast. Super excited to interview you. I know that you work in Costa Rica and I've been there about 25 years. And so I want to understand a little bit more about your journey. Tell us about your current position and what your journey has looked like over the last, say, 15, 20 years.
Of course. Well, first, I can't thank you enough for having me as a guest on your podcast. And my journey began back in Northeast Philadelphia. When I was growing up, a lot of families put certain pressures on you in regards to scholastic and career expectations. Just from my own background, my grandfather went to Harvard Law, my pop was in Columbia Business, and my brother went to Washington Lee University. And so you're talking about some serious Ivy League heavy hitters. I didn't have the grades, I wasn't mature enough, and I realized that if you put me in a certain box, I'd be very unhappy for my life. And so when I was little, I gravitated towards second languages. I was fortunate enough to travel a bit. And so when I'd come back from Mexico, besides enjoying myself, I'd have some additional vocabulary and a huge reinforcement from the Latino community. So at 18 years old, I had to make a decision. What am I going to study in college? And I decided to double down and be a Spanish major. So instead of going Ivy League East Coast, I went to University of Arizona and really invested my time. And then when I was 27, I was given a 1 in a million opportunity to come to Costa Rica for just a couple months and work in my friend's center and teach English. Well, I got past my parents' guilt. That barn door was open, building on momentum, and I moved here. And I really learned the business from the inside out, not at sea level. So for 4 years, I sat with the agents and saw the good and the bad and the happy and the sad. And then in my mid-30s, I threw my hat in the ring, started my business, and here we are 17 years later.
That's awesome. So tell us, what business are you in, and how are you making a difference what has made a difference in your success of what you've done in your business? So tell us about your business and what makes the difference in your success.
Of course. I'm the CEO of Costa Rica's call center. We're a nearshore bilingual dedicated call center that focuses on sales, appointment setting, customer support, back office support, and lead generation. And, I'm 150 strong. The agents here have some amazing skill sets. Since we're located in Central America and our proximity to the United States, you have companies such as Amazon, HP, Intel, and Oracle. They're here. So I compete against the big boys. What can I do? I can match their base level salaries and benefits. My location is more centrally located compared to the highways and industrial office centers. And also, I do it the old school way. Listen, I call the balls and the strikes, and I'm a straight shooter with people. I'll give you some Philly guilt. And I have the luxury of technology. So I'm in a linguistic environment. So we record our calls. We have a quality control department, KPIs and metrics. So besides just grading you what I'm paying you to do, we listen to the calls to see if I can see some soft skills, the juggler that bites the apple. And I want to see if you're making some sort of real sincere connections with people, if you're active listening, engaged, taking good note taking. Are you coachable? Have you been practicing your rhetoric? Are you well versed? And so these sort of soft skills that people can have, not only you can make a killing and have a very good living, but I also see it saving marriages and extending relationships. And today, when most people are doing omni-channel non-voice support, such as chat emails and things like that, and texting, I believe that AI is good for gathering. It'll take you to the 10-yard line. But, Kevin, me and you, we need that extra 10% to put the ball in the end zone. We need that interpersonal communication, that transfer of energy, that human side of it on why you would be signing a contract or recommending you to other people. And so I can't stress that enough to my clients that do a blending, a mixture of first level customer support where people are there, not just a chat function.
Yeah.
And I always believe that prospecting is a means to an end, that telemarketing, making phone calls and building that sort of relationship still has a value today.
Yeah, I see it a lot in our industry. It's easy to get the phone to ring. There's one job to make the phone ring, and then there's another job to get them, invested in enough in you and what you're about and who you are to actually, transact with you. You mentioned something about building like character through those calls. So you mentioned about how do you handle those? You record the calls and you coach them. So, and you want to make sure they're coachable. So help me understand, like, how do you help or how do you recommend professionals coaching their staff and maybe being a little bit more coachable? Or when somebody's not coachable, do you just get rid of them, or how do you handle that?
No, making phone calls is not for the faint of heart. So I respect anybody that has the guts to do it. And if you're trying to compare yourself to the Wolf of Wall Street or Blake from Glengarry Glen Ross, you're barking up the wrong tree. Not everybody slings stock or sells real estate. In fact, you do lending, and I'm here doing customer support. And so everyone needs to slow down and calm down. They always say that the greatest thing is telling the truth. So you can do the same thing over and over again. I want you to be like you. Don't be like me. We're like the Justice League, superheroes with different powers. So when people come into my class, prior to making a single phone call, we talk about the psychology of making the calls. I can give you the armor, but man, if you don't have the mindset, why are you stepping on the battlefield? And so we discuss fear, and we talk about mean people that might yell at you or hang up on you, and that's fine. I also talk about romantic deaths and trying to use that to jump clouds and continue making calls, because you need the pace if you're making that sort of 1 to 2 to 300 calls a day. But now let's get into something that is very realistic. Adjustments of tone. You shouldn't be aggressive, and don't be passive, because either ways you're going to stall out or burn out. Assertiveness is a beautiful 45-degree angle that can give you the most distance. And it's also not offensive if you can play it right. And so there is very good turn taking. So that's why it's very important to ask certain tie down questions. Things make sense or sounds good. May we move forward? So you can checkpoint and then move forward. It's not a 10-minute call. It's 20, 30-second calls. Now, I like using a positive escalation. So if there are individuals that assist you before getting transferred to you, you mentioned that they did a great job, and when you get transferred, you tell that to the owner of the company verbally and in writing, and that's a great way to build a pipeline, get a hero's welcome, and you come back. And also, there's hedging. People have verbal tics. They'll go, ahs, okay, or great, or wonderfuls. Well, sometimes when you repeat the information back, it's not wonderful. You should be doing it in a certain way where it's consistent. Military alphabet is essential. So emails don't bounce back. You can pronounce someone's exotic name well. And don't kid yourself. A lot of people have served in the military. So it's just another authentic way to anchor with somebody. So instead of a call ending, it's continuing. And so there are certain ways that you get them to remember your name. You might want to speak about yourself in third person in the body of the call to remind them your name, so they're not calling you Robert or confused and just kind of getting it at the end. Remember, you have an intro and a conclusion in a body of a call. And I believe in the introduction, you need to start strong. These people should be doing company name spikes. They should be using their anonymity prior to an introduction. So at least I can say, No Excuses Pro Podcast. How are you today? I'm not going to start off by stuttering a good morning or ask to speak to Kevin. That's when you get a negative reinforcement. Who's this? We're good, thanks. Why are you calling? Is this a sales call? I don't want that. I want No Excuses Pro Podcast. How are you today? And then you give the reinforcement of, who's this? I give a buffer boomerang technique. I go, hey, Kevin, that's an excellent question. My name is Richard Blank. And then I'll double dip for the second reinforcement when you can say, okay, Mr. Positive Name Spike and buffer boomerang. What company do you represent? Yeah, I got you twice. Instead of a defense at a 10, now you're at about a 4. And I took that 6 and moved myself forward in regards to momentum. And you do these sort of things. And so my conversations are about due diligence. If you can look at something prior to making a phone call, that can give you some distance. in addition to that, repeating what the people say so they don't have to repeat it, that helps you along the way. And I guess it's really about, as you do, you're the king of follow-up. If someone asks you to call at 3:00 Thursday, you're there. But you also make it tentative in case there's wiggle room. You don't lock it in stone because things happen in life. If someone asks for an email, you do it before the end of the day. So I'm not asking for science or million-dollar ideas, but your bio is pretty much telling you the basic structure of how to do business. Someone asks you to do something, you do it. And you follow through.
I learned a long time ago is if you tell somebody you're going to call them back in 2 to 3 hours, our manager would always ask us, do you know why we do that? And do you know why we call them back in 2 to 3 hours? And it was like, it's so simple. It's because you told them you would. If you tell them you're going to call them back in 2 to 3 hours, you do it no matter what. And you build that rapport. And so that was something that was huge early on. I started early on. It was a hybrid of call center, but also we would go out and see clients. Right out of college, started in the mortgage business, and I would actually answer phone, read a script, and then I would have to go out to the client's house 4 hours outside of where I was at in Scottsdale and Phoenix area, and we would drive to all these different places. We'd have to get handwritten documents, very different nowadays with all the e-signing. We needed to make sure that we were strong enough personality-wise on the phones, but also strong enough in the house to make sure we can get everything signed, take care of what we need to do. I never had to drive back to the house because I was very diligent, but we did have a lot of people that have to go back to the house to get more stuff signed to get the loan closed. And I never had to do that while I was in that job. So that's kind of a unique thing for us was the face-to-face and the phone situation how I started early on in the business.
Of course, you don't want to drive back to Buckeye twice.
Or Kingman.
Okay, Kingman, Arizona, of course. I used to, it's so funny since I'm a wildcat. Yeah, the first job I had was with Frontier Communications selling telecom. So instead of doing domestic rates, I was doing rates to Mexico for the international rate decks. I was going like to Southwest Phoenix and driving all those places.
Oh, yeah.
But I loved old school prospecting. I like knocking on doors. I'm not saying you do that indefinitely, but don't tell me that doesn't build character. And you got to be on top of your game, and you got to pace yourself, and you got to eat well, and you got to rest. Because as I say, that's where the real player comes in, and you earn your stripes. And well, good for you. I mean,
you mentioned rest, something that, I just about a week and a half ago, I found myself, and I guess I drink coffee, but I felt like I was not drinking too much, but I realized I was drinking too much, if that makes sense. Yeah. And I wake up early, have some coffee, go to the gym at like 4:35, running, having big goals and going after things. And I kind of hit a wall 2 weeks ago where I just was like, I'm drinking too much caffeine. I haven't had any caffeine now for about a week and a half, 2 weeks. And you say rest, and to have this type of pace, and in a call center, to have that pace and always be on, I find it really important to be able to disconnect at some point. Is there anything that you recommend to be able to disconnect and have that pace where you're able to run hard at certain times and have a break? Is there anything you recommend?
First downs compared to touchdowns. If you're going to try to give yourself 4 hours to play a round of golf or that 2 hours in the morning to hit the gym, I got you. But what happens if it rains and you can't get the gym? Where are you still going to get that sort of satisfaction? Well, why don't you make your bed in the morning? That's the first thing you should do. Maybe iron your clothes. A lot of people are wrinkled. I don't know what your diet is like, but for me personally, once I started taking creatine and protein, that's assisted me where I'm not skipping meals, I'm supplementing. And when I'm talking about downtime, it's really about decompression, because I hit the gym like you, brother, and I know we do other things, but I need to find some sort of meditative trance. I can't do the sort of meditation the way you do in the East. I'm too hyper. But I can wash a car for an hour. I can play pinball because I collect classic machines. I can do that for a while. And, there's certain things that I can do that are my own hobbies where I can decompress. And if I can't do that, I can't sit still. But maybe it's something where I'm not speaking, or the phone's away, or I'm not listening to music or a podcast. Why can't I just hear the birds? or go next to like a river, because you know that you get the image streaming after about 20 minutes of decompressed stimulation. That's when the mind goes, the long shower, the long walk, the plane ride. And that's usually when you get your best ideas. It's usually, Kevin, it's when you shed the skin and cut the fat. When you realize, hey man, I think I overextended myself, or I'm wasting too much time on caffeine and this other stuff. And the only way to get to that is to get into that sort of mindset. You can't turn it off like a light. And you know that. It's got to be a landing plane and a taking off. You got to keep blending it. If not, that's not your personality. You're not a black and white kind of guy and Superman rip-off shirt kind of cat. It doesn't work that way. It's not healthy. It's like stopping peeing. You're going to hurt yourself. You got to let it go all the way. And so you have to respect your mind and body sometimes, where it asks for rest or it asks for stimulation.
Yeah.
But then again, don't try to be something you're not, because it's not fun and you'll get antsy and waste your time. And so a lot of it is just understanding your true tastes. If you hate golf, don't play it. If you don't want to play bridge, find some other friends. But if you need that decompressed stimulation, literally find the thing that you love the most, and you need to work on that.
This is awesome, man. I love the conversation around this. You're bringing some things back to light that I've learned years ago that I'm like, you know what, I need to probably revisit this. So question for you, in line with the no excuse ethos of this, can you share with me an experience you had to hold either yourself or your teammate accountable to ensure success?
No, a lot of it is the guilt. I've seen you at your best, and I know that sometimes you're out of character. I can't hit the ball and drag Johnny. I'm just not going to do it. But if I've seen you at your best and this is not who you are today, you're definitely out of character, and you're better than that. And so the best coaches I had weren't the ones that scared me to coming to practice, or it was really when I got to college and I saw individuals there that were very self-sufficient, that were raised a certain way where they were good in the kitchen. They knew how to separate clothes for laundry. They were more mature than me. They had their game together much better than I did. So if you can compare yourself to your peers, not to your mentor or your teacher, that's an excellent size up. And I love surrounding myself with friends that are winners. And none of my friends own a call center, so I can't compare notes, but my doctor and lawyer and business friends, I listen to them. And we have our Philly pride. And what I love to hear the most is not the challenges that they have. It's just the weight that they're able to carry. It's the later rounds of the fight when your legs hurt and your arms hurt, but you keep going. And so I like to hear the grit. Usually it revolves around their children or taking care of their parents or just their own commitment to themselves, that they said they would do something. And a lot of it is not even financially related. It's just that sort of thing outside of work that they can give their spark to continue going. And it's interesting now that we're getting older, balder, and wiser, we're the ones that should be paying it forward. And so when I am able to give a sincere compliment or notice something that can adjust a balance and improve someone's self-confidence, I will do it. Because me today, you tomorrow. And there are 1,000 people that help balance my bike along the way. And I'm the first person to be humble and give, credit to the teachers, coaches, and friends that assisted. And so it's a weird stage. There's things, golden jewels lose its luster. And I think that the best memories and the best energy you get is when it's something that's not financial, because anyone can make a buck and give a buck.
Yeah.
But giving that advice.
Yeah. And that's why I actually started the podcast. So I was at a coaching event, a great coach I've been coached by in the past in the mortgage space, Todd Duncan, runs events over the years. And I went to one 10 years ago, which really changed the direction of my career. And then I went to one again after 9 years after the first one. And one of the things that hit me is he really is about like getting in tune with what's most important to you. And he teaches us how to help other people extract what's important to them and how to help them with that. And
Sure.
just along the lines of what you're talking about, and the reason why I moved forward with this podcast is I think a lot of people, whether it's personal or professional, have so many things that they want to do in their life, but they have all these excuses on why not to do it. And, it kind of gets tiring when you're calling up your friend saying, hey, you need to do this, or calling up your business partner, hey, you need to do this. But having something like this, a platform where we can interview other successful business owners like yourself, Richard, that can help share insight is really what I want to do. I've been in the business 20 years, and I really dialed in like what's really important to me is worth, and having worth either inside for myself that I know I'm worthy, worthwhile, but also providing worth to others too, and making sure we're giving back. And so you're hitting the nail on the head with me. I mean, this is exactly why I'm recording these, and I'm getting such positive feedback over the year, or this last year that I've been recording it, and it's just been amazing to be able to how to lean in to help people out. So thank you for saying that. It just reinforces what I'm doing.
Of course, my man. And if I may be forthright, you sometimes have to make selfish decisions. I did in regards to my career, learning the second language, moving abroad. Did I disappoint? I disappointed a lot of people.
So tell me more about that. That's really good stuff there.
I should be selling real estate in Scottsdale, getting yelled at by my older brother, telling me to make more phone calls. But I think a lot of the excuses people are making is because they have a lot of pressure from their family, or they've never left the island and they don't know what's out there, or they're just comparing themselves to others that have never left the castle. And so you read about these fables, it's really a hero's journey. You're supposed to leave a castle, slay a dragon, and save a princess. How are you supposed to do it unless it's planned out for you? And so I'm not telling you to steal a car and drive cross country. I was building on momentum from the second language, getting better at it, interning during college, certain jobs post-grad. So my goodness gracious, you see the trajectory, you see where it's going. This is, and you want to know something else? When somebody does wax on, wax off, dedicated practice above and beyond what work or school expects of you, reading the extra book, going, as you say, to the seminars, meeting the people, my God, is that a spark in somebody? You should never put that out if they're really practicing that violin and piano, no matter how it sounds, because they're living life, they're drinking it. And that could always lead to other things too.
Well, I'll tell you, I just interviewed a young kid. He's 19 years old, going to ASU, and he was a referral from a close friend of mine, and it was a son of one of their friends, and he read he wants to get into real estate, right? So here's the greatest thing: he's taking a step forward. So he was working at Walmart, and he decided he met somebody that did property management. So his job is literally the grunt work of the property manager. He's supposed to go in there, kick people out, take care of the properties, go check on things, do property visits. He's seen some crazy things just in a short period of time. But you're saying take steps forward, small steps. He wants to go be an investor, but first he's going to be a grunt working on toilets and fixing, the dirty little rings on toilets. Nobody wants to do that. But that's what it takes to get to the bigger things in life. And you need to start with learning the language, doing these basic things, learning the steps. And then also, here's something I have a question for you on. How do you get over maybe the fear, or if somebody has fear of taking, hey, I've done all that groundwork, but I'm stuck here at my job and I should go start a call center. I should go start a team. I should, invent something. How does somebody make that transition that may be having a little bit of fear around that?
Well, if you've been fixing toilets, then you should know what you're doing. And so when you meet other people that have done it and you're the owner of a company and you hire people to do that, you'll earn their respect. You just don't write checks. Like if somebody walks into my call center and they know how to make phone calls, I can respect where they're at. But this is my wheelhouse. So you're really dealing with somebody here that can take any call at any time. And my metrics might be as good, if not better. And so really, it's about the experience and time that gets you at that level. But if you can, as I did working at my friend's center, learning retention, customer support, onboarding, training, human resources, SEO, affiliate management, that was my graduate school. And so it was almost, I'm 35 years old. I'm sitting at breakfast. A good friend of mine goes, "Hey, Ricardo, why don't you start a call center?" Yeah, I was in between jobs. I was getting older. I was getting nervous. I wasn't making, the money I think I could make. So then you're saying, "Well, Richard, where's the fear come from?" I got you, brother. But here's the skins. In my industry, I could start slow. I was renting a turnkey station at a blended center. I wasn't where I am today. I didn't get penthouse and buy 1,000 computers and a server room. You're out of your mind. I was paying top dollar to rent a turnkey station at a place where I could scale accordingly. I did that for 2 years so I could have capital and the clients. Then I rented space and started buying used equipment of call centers that are having a turnover. So instead of $1, I'm paying 30 cents for a brand new Dell. I mean, come on. And I could buy stations and rows at a time, like Monopoly. So I could pace myself. I was acting my wage. And then after 6 years of that, I had enough cash to purchase a building, put on a third floor, and keep going. And so if you want the fancy dancy 1 week deal, I'm not that guy. Okay. This took 16 years of my life of dedication. And if somebody is willing to commit 16 years, 16 days, or 16 hours, you have to go the distance. And in your mind, you're going to be doing late nights, early mornings, working weekends, sacrificing certain things. But that's the price that you pay, because you might be able to retire early, or you can buy jukeboxes, or you can fulfill some sort of childhood dream of not being a boss, because anybody could be a boss. And if nobody shows up, then you're not a boss. But knowing that what you're doing is positive enough that people who have options decide to come and walk with you. It's the most beautiful wind in your sails. I don't want to be the kid at Chuck E. Cheese with no friends. The fact I got 150 people, some have been with me for 15 years. What do you say to somebody like that, Kevin? How do you thank them besides paying them? So what I do is I give them pinball machines. I give my oldest guy a hook pinball machine. I mean, what else can I do? But I tell you what, they do have options. I do compete against Amazon. And so the fear for me is treating the people a certain way, because I'll never give them the walk of shame, make them cry. I'll lose somebody because of a scheduling conflict. Their girlfriend works somewhere, it's closer to home. They might make more money. But I don't cut people. I don't fire people. And so I think if you have a foundation of ethics and you know how you were raised, you wipe your feet, you ask permission and please and thank yous, you might get asked back. And so that's all I know. I didn't go to business school. I didn't read all those books I'm supposed to be quoting. I'm just an old school cat from Philly that went to Arizona. I got a 1 in a million shot in Costa Rica. Why do you think I'm all smiling every day? This should have never happened.
Costa Rica is amazing. I've been down there once, a long time ago, 2006. Got to make it back. But we're keeping it in drive time. We're just about 30 minutes, so I have just a few more minutes. Wanted to keep this in drive time and make sure. I always like to keep that 30-minute range. Richard, what do you see for the future of the industry with the call centers? You mentioned a little bit with the AI, and really having a call center there. But what's the future of a call center with all the changes going on right now?
In 10 years from now, 99% of us could be replaced. Think about an automatic telling machine for your cash. You don't need to go in the banks anymore. If AI keeps assisting people, moving them along, gathering the information and converting those calls, it's going to work. Like IVR is integrated voice response. You put in your things on the phone. But I tell you what, there'll always be a certain market that presses zero, that's willing to speak to the person at the ticketing counter, pay an extra $20 just to make sure it's done. Maybe we're concierge, first class, or just rare. But it will be adjusting my industry accordingly. And is that a good thing? I think it's a fantastic thing for the consumer. But I don't want people today to fully focus on nonverbal communication. I think the texting and emails and chatting, there's a miscommunication, misinterpretation. If you have the certain skills to be able to speak with somebody, you'll have a much more solid relationship, more memorable. You can transfer that electromagnetic energy.
Yep.
and you'll find your job much more fulfilling. But Kevin, my man, I
That's
can't thank
awesome.
you enough. I had the best time today on your podcast.
Yeah, it was great talk with you. I feel like we could talk about a lot more information. So maybe on another time. Hey, everybody, thank you so much for jumping on the No Excuse Pro podcast, where we're helping people break through excuses, take on their goals, and make sure they're achieving them, not just writing them down, but actually achieving them and breaking through those excuses. Thanks again, Richard. It was a pleasure talking with you, and we'll talk to you again soon.
Take care, buddy.
And there you have it, folks. Another enlightening episode of the No Excuse Pro podcast is in the books. A heartfelt thank you to today's guests for sharing their wisdom, and to you, our valued listeners, for spending your time with us. If you're ready to ditch the excuses and level up, make sure to subscribe and find all our episodes at noexcusepropodcast.com. Don't forget, the only thing standing between you and your goals is the story you tell yourself. So no excuses accepted here. Take action and make it happen.